be starting a brand new mini series called Font Review. We're gonna have this as a weekly series where we rate different fonts based on all different types of characteristics, and we're gonna rate it from 1 through 10. Now, even if it's a great font, it might not necessarily be a 10, and we're gonna be super critical about each rating that we do. Now, to get into it, we have our very first font, but we have to look at what makes a good font. Number one, we have accessibility. Are you able to get these fonts immediately? Do you have to jump through a bunch of hoops before you're able to get it? Typically, some of the best fonts end up actually being free, but there are some that are really high quality that you end up having to pay for. Number two, we have consistent characters. This is one of the most important parts when it comes to a great font. You want to see different widths of the font, all the different parts of it. Is it consistent through the whole thing? Or does it change up halfway through and kind of mess with the actual legibility of it, which is, of course, number three. Legibility, of course, being the most important part of a font. Are you able to read it? If you're not, then there's really no point of using it whatsoever. No matter how creative it is, if you can't read it, then it's just useless. Number four, we have how dynamic is it? Does it have a bunch of different weights that you could use in many different situations, scenarios? Is it just a headline font, or does it have actual different parts of it that can be used for different bodies of text? Finally, we have even kerning. Now, this one can be fixed relatively easily based on the design program that you're using, but overall, if it has consistent kerning throughout all the letters, which is basically the spacing between each letter, for those of you guys that don't know what kerning is, if it has even spacing throughout the whole thing, it's already going to be a good font. You can tell that the artist took a lot of time to actually focus on a little part just like that. It goes a long way. Now, to take us into our first font, Euro style. This is one that I use for my personal branding. I absolutely love it, but I am going into this without a bias. Right there on the right side, you can see how it's being consistently used with just the regular weight. Now, to show you these different weights, we have 5 different ones. We have regular, italic. It is italic, right? Not italic. I don't know why I'm thinking italic like Italian. We have regular italic, medium, black, and black italic. So it has all these different weights that can be used throughout many different settings and scenarios. As I previously mentioned, we have the headline one, which could be that black or black italic, and then the lower weights, which could be used for different bodies of text. For example, we got all these, the fitness gram pacer test, all being used in all the different weights, but you can see the differences in all of them as it goes up. This is just a better example of it as you see it with an actual sentence. Next up, these 4 letters, I mean, through all my time of being a graphic designer and going through many different fonts and trying to create my own, these 4 letters typically end up being the hardest: an A, a G, a Q, and a Y. Now, what you'll notice is that with Euro style, rather than having that consistency in the different parts of the type that we mentioned before, you'll see that right here we have these almost different curves that change the thickness of the letters, which works successful for this specific type of logo, for this specific type of font. Jesus. But you'll notice that something like the Y has a completely different one than the rest of the letters. So you'll see right here, we have like a specific curve that goes into a straight line, curve into a straight line, curve into a straight line for the A, G, and Q. But then the Y has this really interesting one where you have this parallelogram into the right part of the Y, and it still kind of has the curve, but the way that it's set up, it doesn't curve with it in the same way that a lot of the other letters do. Whether that's good or bad, I mean, we're gonna find out. But if you look right here, especially with the Y, the G kind of has almost like a similar curve where you have a curve going up into the straight part, right? So you look right here, curve into straight with the Y. Right here, you'd expect kind of like the same thing with like this curve right here, right into the straight part, and it's not doing it. A lot of these lines actually don't line up. Now, this is something that you consistently see in fonts and actually can be a good thing, because sometimes when you do line it up perfectly, it almost looks too uniform to the point where it is distracting more than anything. Right here, it feels much more natural. So you'll see the curve of the N and the curve of the U go below the baseline and above this line. So it does the same thing with the P and the E, right? You would expect it to be a little bit more consistent there. Next up, we have the most famous sentence in all of graphic design history: the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Now, what makes this so good, for those of you guys that don't know anything about this sentence in general, what it is, this features every single letter of the alphabet. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. For those of you that use fonts, you know very well, that's the reason why it does, is because this features every single letter in the alphabet. Even on your computer, when you download a font, this one will show up. We're gonna start getting into some fun parts, okay? So we wanna see what it looks like in potentially different settings. So right now we have it with actual different colors. I messed up the spacing right here, Jesus Christ. We're gonna ignore that. But you can see how the headline style, which is the black Euro style, significantly shows well when you put it in these different scenarios. Now going into this next part, we're gonna be showing different, I guess, mock-ups and really putting it to the test to see how well this font can actually be used. So right here we have Euro style, but then you have a mixture of the regular style and the medium right in here. So Euro style, a classic font created by Aldo, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that last name, in 1962. This was created in 1962. And is still functional to this day. I mean, that says a lot in itself right there. And you can see that even by mixing the different styles, it works very well when you use it as an actual headline versus a descriptive section right below. Sorry, I can't really speak right now. No matter what font you have, when you put it in this specific setting, it's gonna be hard to read. But one thing that's very important with this is that I immediately typed this out without messing with the kerning. And you'll notice that with the B and the K next to the O, it almost feels like there's like too much spacing and it feels kind of like spread out. And I think that might actually be emphasized by the fact that some of the white blends into the background with the lighter color. So it really makes you focus on some of the things that might actually be kind of on the negative side with the font. And well, I mean, looking at it, that spacing was really messing with me. So going into the next one, I wanted to do an all caps with this. So you'll see with SpongeBob, I actually messed with the kerning and brought it in a little bit more, and it does make it a little bit more legible and does work a lot better in my personal opinion. We have the bag here. SpongeBob, even my bags have bags. But yet again, we're showing how black can be worked with the regular, this time using the italicized version. Floating shoe. I had to adjust the kerning on this header since the letters looked very spaced out. This is where it significantly showed. So as I mentioned, like with the Bokeh right here, the spacing between each letter really stood out, and it did even more here. So when I brought it in together, it started looking a lot better. Now I'm definitely gonna take a lot of points off of that, especially because I mean, like having to adjust the kerning based off of using the font. I mean, you want to see it look consistent on its own. I did not line these up. That's my bad. I mean, they consistently work very well together. Very, very well. And it's not such a stark contrast where it becomes distracting. It's like, okay, this is how it should be. Ladies and gentlemen, now we get into the rating time, which I need to do with you guys because, yeah, I haven't rated it yet. And I have 0-0 right there, but I need to actually do it. So I'm curious, what do you guys think about the font right now? I think that's about where my head was at. I was going to give it an 8.4, and I think I'm still going to continue to do that. I give it an 8.4. It's a very solid font. Again, one of my favorites. I do absolutely love it. However, oh my God. Wait, how am I going to get out of this? Yeah, I think I'm going to give it an 8.4. With having to mess with the kerning a lot and some of the inconsistencies like in the Y, I mean, like at that point, that's just kind of nitpicking. But I think 8.4 is a solid rating. I mean, when you look at it, it's one that you can be used through many different dynamic scenarios. For a serif font, it works really well, but has a certain style that can only be used in certain situations too. I mean, as dynamic as it is, I feel like you can't use this for, I guess, more of like a fancy setting, if that makes sense. If you're looking for more of a high class look, this definitely isn't it. This could almost be used, I guess, in like a futuristic style or maybe even a sporty style. That's where it really thrives. But trying to put it anywhere else, it's not going to be as successful as it is in those situations. All right, guys, that's it for our very first font review. Now, if you guys out there want to give me some fonts to rate, then make sure you guys leave it down in the comments below. And especially to you graphic designers who have created your own fonts, make sure you leave those down as well. And of course, let me know if you've made it so that we can give it a proper review. Till the next one, love, peace, chicken grease.